it's your girl Aaliyah Leanette, and I'm back with another video. Y'all, as y'all can tell from the title, today I'm just gonna be coming to y'all raw, real, truthful, and I'm gonna tell y'all about the pros and the cons of moving out at a young age, whether that's from 17 to like 21, 22 maybe. If it applies to you, then take it. But I'm basically just gonna give y'all an overview of everything from like my experience. Everybody's experience moving out, living on their own is different. Overall, I want y'all to have a good experience if you're looking to move out. Just what to know, what to expect, what not to expect when moving out and doing everything. So yeah, trying to take moving out serious, being on your own, you know, then this video is for you. And just a disclaimer, like, there's no rush to move. Like, if you're living with your parents or family or like whatever the case is, keep it like that. There's no rush to moving and getting out, because adulting is expensive, living on your own is expensive. Just go ahead and say that there. All right, so the first thing before you even think about moving out is, do you have a job? Do you have money? And do you have a steady source of income, steady paychecks? Do you have that? Yes. Keep watching. No. You know, you can't really move out if you don't have any money, any source of income. Whether you have your own business or you work like a regular job, 9 to 5, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Working is working as long as you're getting money to be able to pay for rent. Moving on to my second thing that I was going to talk about, saving. Okay, boom, you have a job, you have money, you have a source of income. Good, great. That is the start. That's where you're basically starting. Personally, well, not personally, but logically speaking, whenever you go to apply for an apartment, they look at your money. They're not just going to be like, oh, you apply, you're going to get it. No, they look at your credit, what's your source of income, how much you make. They usually require you to make triple to double the amount. I think it's triple now. Last year when I applied, it was triple for me, and I'm pretty sure it's triple now, if not more, because the city I live, Austin, is getting even more expensive. Once you figure out what your budget is, what your source of income is, not just your source of income in the sense of, okay, I make this much, oh, I can afford rent and I'll still have a little bit left. No, you need to make sure you're making enough to where you can pay your rent and pay your other bills and still have spending money for like extra expenses or whatever the case may be. Don't just make enough for your rent. You always want to have a little bit of extra money, whether you got a side hustle, this, that, and the third, whatever the case may be. Don't ever just have the set amount. You always want to have more. So if you don't have a little bit more, then don't even set yourself up for failure like that. Adulting, living on your own, out on your own is expensive, not depending on your parents, doing everything you want. If you do get help, cool, run with that. But if you don't, you're independent, you're really doing it by yourself, you're gonna want to save, and you don't want to put yourself in a position to where you're struggling and you can't live comfortably. So for me personally, when I applied for my apartment, I was making triple times the rent. I had 2 jobs at the time, so I was able to bring in a steady, stable income with my pay stubs and with my checks and whatnot. Put that out there. She's like, how'd you get your apartment? I was working my ass off. That's how I got it. Whenever you find out how much your checks are making, at least 6 months in advance, not 2 months, not 3 months, not 4 months, 6 months to a year, if not more in advance, you want to start saving your money. You want to start saving as much as you can, like each paycheck, either each week, bi-weekly, whatever you get paid. Make sure you're setting out a certain percentage, a certain amount of money to save up. You should have 6 months rent saved up for your apartment. You know, like, you don't want to just have enough money to get in, get the deposit, and then be struggling the rest of the month. No, you want to be secure, responsible, and set up to where you know you have that down the line, so you can be working on other stuff, or just in case anything out of the blue happens. So save, save, save. Make sure you have a source of income consistently. You're not bouncing around to jobs. You have to have at least, depending if you get paid weekly or bi-weekly, a consistent 3 to 4 pay stubs to show the property where you plan on moving. And if you don't have that, you're not getting it. If you're moving in with somebody, y'all have to have pay stubs from both people. Whoever's going to be on the lease, you have to have pay stubs from both parties. Yeah, and if you are planning on moving with somebody, make sure the other person is saving on their shit. Make sure y'all on the same page with everything. Okay, so to the applying part, I guess this can be 3 or whatever. I'm not going to really do steps. This is going to be me talking. Whatever comes out, comes out. Applying, when you go to the apartments, or where, yeah, apartments, because this is specifically for apartments. I don't know how homes or townhomes or anything else works, because I've never lived in one. I've only ever lived in an apartment. But yeah, once you do that, you go in, you apply. There is going to be an application fee, and depending on if you get approved or not for the apartment, there's going to be more fees that come along with it. But we're just at the application fee. Once you go in, hi, I'm here looking to get a 1-bedroom. Tell them what you're looking for. That's what they're there to do, to help you. So they're going to ask for your ID. If you don't have a driver's license or ID, it's going to be a little hard to get that. They have to know, they have basically like collateral, make sure you are who you say you are. Basically, they're gonna ask for that. And before you even apply for anything, make sure you look at all the options all of the floor plans, see what you want, how much space you're gonna need. Don't get extra space that you don't need. Get what you need. Don't be trying to live above your means and do extra stuff. If you're moving in with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, your significant other, get a 1 bedroom. What do y'all need 2 bedrooms for? Unless you have something you just need a 2 bedroom for. If you want to have a guest bedroom for your first apartment, you don't need a guest bedroom. Let me just say that. Like, living is expensive, especially if you're just like really living, not getting no help or nothing, like just living on your own. It's expensive. So yeah, if you're moving in with the roommate, the person, then you can look at the 2 bedroom floor plans, because I'm pretty sure you don't want to be sharing a room with your roommate. Like, y'all, you want to have your own space, you want to be comfortable, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, make sure you're looking at all the floor plans. Hi, what are your 1 bedrooms looking like? If you're moving by yourself, you can even get a studio apartment, which I kind of wish I kind of had a studio. It was a 1 bedroom, but I could have had a studio, because what I was paying for that was, anyways. But yeah, look at the floor plans, see what they have, all of that. Don't just go in and be like, I want to apply for the 1 bedroom without looking at it, seeing the condition of it, pros and the cons, you know, all of that. Does it have like washer dryer connect? Does it have patio or porch? Like small stuff you wouldn't even think twice about. Like, you know, not all apartments come with things typical apartments come with. Each apartment complex unit is different, so you gotta ask as many questions as you need to make sure that you're on the same page with the leasing person or property, whoever's basically helping you look for your apartment. You can look for it by yourself, or you can hire an apartment locator or apartment finder. I don't know what they call them. Those usually do cost money. They do have free ones to where they will partner with apartment complexes to get more people to move in, and then once you get moved in, approved, accepted, then the apartment complex pays the apartment locator or the realtor or the finder, whatever you call them. Also, when you are looking for apartments and places, make sure you look for specials. A lot of apartments do specials around the end of the year and the beginning end of the year going into the next year, because like that's usually when people start like moving and stuff and leases start ending. So around like November, December to January, February-ish, that's when a lot of apartments do rent specials. So you can do like $100 off, free application fee, or first month free for like 12-month lease term. You have to be careful with the rent specials and make sure you're clear on it. You know, it can look good like, oh snap, $1,000 off, or first 2 month free, but there's more. It's not just that, it's definitely more to it that they usually don't say, that you usually do have to ask about. And the only reason I say make sure you watch out about that, because I kind of got not tricked into that, because I kind of knew, I did my research up on my apartment before I moved in. I asked all my questions. Usually when they do that, you have to do, or most of the time you have to do a 12-month lease. That's a year. That is a whole obligation of a year. So if you apply to an apartment and it's say like $2,000 a month, and you get the first month free, for the next 12 months you're gonna have to pay $2,000 in rent. That's not even including the water, electric, and all the other bills that come with it. That's just rent. That is just what you're paying to be up in. Like, you still got to pay the small little stuff that comes with it. That's another thing I want to touch base on. Don't live above your means. If you see a nice apartment, like, dang, I want that. If you can afford it, if you are financially set up to where you can afford that, good, by all means go get that. But if you're not, don't try to live above your means. Don't try to flex. Don't try to do nothing you're not set up for. Not everybody's apartment is peaches and cream and fancy. Some people live in dumps, but at least it's yours. At least it is yours. Anyways, make sure you're checking for, you know, any special stuff going on, and make sure you find out the leasing terms and agreements that come with that, because you don't want to get $100 off, or your first month or first 6 weeks free, and then you can't afford the rest of the rent because you didn't clarify how much your rent was actually going to be with that in calculations. And you're just all of that. Make sure you're asking questions and you really know what you're getting yourself into before you sign any type of document. Because once you sign that lease, you are legally obligated. You can't leave, you can't break it. You will get charged for that. That will go on your credit. You will go to court for that. That is a whole separate thing. You can't just be like, oh, I can't afford it, can I move? Nah, it's a whole process. So that's why I'm saying, before you even get yourself into any of that to where you have to mess up your credit, this, that, and the third, just make sure you know what you're doing. Like, make sure you got it like that first. And if you don't, that's okay. Keep saving, you'll get there. Like, don't feel discouraged because you see somebody else moving, getting a car, getting an apartment, this and that, and you don't have it. It's not meant for you to rush. Don't rush. When it's time for you to move, move. I was blessed enough last year to be set up, had 2 jobs, signed my lease by myself, and I moved, and I was in my apartment for 12 months, a whole year, from January 2021 to January 2022. So yeah, just make sure you're really like on that. My rent was about $1,500 with like water and everything. So $1,500 times, that's almost $20,000. I paid in over a year's span in my rent. Also, another thing, when you apply, before you even ask for that application, before you even ask how much it is, make sure you're working on your credit. Most of the times, apartments don't even approve you if you don't have any type of credit history. So I'd say about 6 months to a year before you plan on applying for an apartment or moving or anything, make sure either you or the person you're moving with have good credit. Having no credit is just like having bad credit. You got to start building your credit up, showing that you can responsibly pay off. It can be a small thing you get credit for. I have a whole nother credit video y'all can go watch. I'm not going to get into credit too much on here, but credit is a big thing when applying for an apartment, because once you do apply, that lowers your credit score. If you apply and you don't have credit, and if you don't have credit and you're really in a scrunch and you're trying to move, you can go ahead and get a co-signer. But a co-signer has to be a person with good credit, who's responsible. And if you don't pay your rent or anything else, that falls back on the co-signer. So don't be f***ing your co-signer up. You know you can't afford it. Get somebody that's responsible. You gotta be responsible. If you're not responsible or organized enough to be paying rent or bills, then don't do it. Moving is not as easy as it seems. Like, oh yeah, you got your own. You take that picture with that key, but there's way more to it, like I've been saying. So get through that process. It usually takes probably a few days, depending on how long the apartments take to run your credit and background and all of that. It is going to lower your credit score, so make sure you have, that's what I'm saying, make sure you have a decent credit score, at least fair to good credit score. If you have bad credit, don't do that shit. Build your credit. It's not like you're gonna have bad credit forever unless you just, like, you know. But yeah, also make sure, say if you look in an apartment, looking at a unit, make sure that unit's available, that same floor plan. And if they say that they don't have anything available, get on the waiting list. Make sure, you know, you wait. And if you don't want to wait that long, you don't want to be on the waiting list, there's other places, there's other options, there's other apartments to look at. You know, if you're looking for a specific unit floor plan, make sure you clearly communicate with them and make sure that it's available. Because you don't want to get into it, they not have it or something. Or apply for a unit that you didn't even really want. If you're going to be sitting there for a year at least, you better make sure you're getting what you want. You better make sure it has the majority of the features of what you want. And if you aren't looking to get a 12-month lease, you don't have to get a 12-month. That's usually what the typical lease length is. Because a year, it may seem like a long time, but it low-key goes by like really fast. Like I was thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna just do a 6-month lease. Like it's my first apartment. Nah, like the shorter your lease term, the more expensive. So say if your rent was to come out to like $2,000 a month over a 12-month span. If you did that, split it in half to 6 months, your rent is going to be most likely way more than that because you're not staying there that long, so they're going to charge you more. They want you to stay as long as possible. Okay, say you get approved, whether that's with your credit, you had valid pay stub, good source of income, good credit, or good cosigner, everything checks out, boom, you have to start paying your deposits. They have renter's insurance, pet deposit, carport deposit, if you want to have like your own garage or carport. So yeah, there's other deposits and fees you have to have renter's insurance. At least in Texas here, you have to have renter's insurance, and I recommend you have renter's insurance because if anything happens, damages, you get broken in, water, anything, flood, yeah, they pay for that, and you most likely get reimbursed. And if you don't have to have renter's insurance, I wouldn't even feel comfortable living because anything could happen. You don't want to settle for the bare minimum. Like you want to make sure everything is checking out how it's supposed to check out. So yeah, when you're applying, there is the application fee, but there's also other deposits and stuff that you have to make. Say if you have a pet, cat, dog, each pet you gotta pay, I think it's around $300-$400, depends on the apartment. There's stuff to be paid for. Like you can't live for free. They're not gonna let you live for free, unfortunately. They have accommodations, but you can't just live flat out, you know, for free. All right, next thing we're gonna go on, I know I should have hopped in this first, but you should look out for location. And I only say that because if you want to move downtown, commute, you got to think about traffic. Do you want to really be sitting in traffic every single day to go to work? Do you really want to have to go the shortcut, the back way? Like you just got to think about that, like commute and safety. Another reason is safety. Like you can see some nice ass apartments, but it'd be in a area where you can have, you know, like the crime rates. Like you gotta look, I mean, you probably wouldn't care about that, but safety is a big thing. You shouldn't just be moving to any old area. You got to do your research, make sure it's safe. Like, would you really feel comfortable living there? Like, if you with a roommate, cool, with your significant other, cool, but still, like, if it's just you, do your research on the area and commute. If you're in college, school, you don't live on campus, how long is it gonna take you to get to campus? How long is it gonna take you to your classes? How far are you from your family? Are you a family person? You want to be around your family? You need to be around your family? Make sure you're near your family. You know, are you on the outskirts? Are you in the city? How far are you away from hospitals? Any emergency happen, are you near anything? If you were in the middle of nowhere, that's a little like, huh? You know, you just got to think about stuff like that. If you like being in the middle of nowhere, you don't really care, like, okay, cool, like, it's up to you. I'm not telling y'all what to do. I'm just giving y'all advice of things you should consider and look out for. You know, how far are you from activities, the mall? Like, are you far away from everything? Are you in the middle of everything? Like, you just got to think about the things that you want. What would make you comfortable being around? Like, what would you want to be? For me personally, I was in, like, not downtown, but like North Austin, but in between pretty much everything. So I'm gonna hop into price range really quick. Like I said, referring back to how much you make a month consistently will determine your price range. Moving out, getting apartments is more expensive. Like I said, mine was like around $1,500 including everything, but that's not including like all of my bills. Like, that's just rent. So it's like I pay the flat rate of rent, and then I go back in with water, electricity. For my apartment specifically, they charge for valet trash. That's just something that comes in the leasing terms, leasing contract. It's not something I got to pick. That's something that they required. If I wanted to live there, I'd have to have valet trash, who they're partnered with, specific company that comes and picks up your trash every week. So yeah, that was required in the leasing terms, so I had to pay for that. I had to pay a little bit extra to get a washer and dryer included, and other small stuff you wouldn't think that apartments charge for, that they do. There's little hidden fees in there, so you really do got to watch out and look out for that. And yeah, like I said, when you're doing your price range, do your full-on, like, separate and split up your finances. Like, when you're doing your price range, your budget range for your apartment, you got to include all of your expenses. Do you have a car note? Do you have insurance? Do you have any other small bills? Do you have a credit card bill? Do you have savings? Do you have other financial obligations? Size, rent is going to be the big main thing, but like, what's your second biggest expense? You got to calculate all of that. Groceries, phone bill, gas, that is an expense, because you're gonna, depending on location and commute, you're gonna have to spend more or less money on gas depending on how far you live from where you're commuting to. As far as moving in, you get approved. If you don't, you could reapply, but you don't want to keep reapplying or applying for places when you don't see what the problem is. If you keep reapplying to apartments with the same problem, you're gonna keep getting denied. So don't just be wasting applications and money for no reason. Make sure when you decline the first time, see the reason why, pinpoint it, fix it, and then go back and reapply. Don't just be applying to multiple places. You can come up with like a top 5 or top 10 list, narrow it down to like your top 3 places, go see them, talk to them, narrow down to the one that fits best and works best for you, or you and your roommate, or whoever you're living with. As far as the roommate thing goes, I personally don't agree with it. I don't want to say like agree with it, but make sure you're committed 110% to living with that person for however long the lease term is. If y'all both sign that lease, y'all better both be there. Like, if y'all both sign that lease, y'all are both obligated. No, not one person can up and leave. Like, no, like, you gotta pay your half, you gotta do your part. So personally for me, I had the person that I was with at the time was staying with me. They were not on my lease. Technically, you're not allowed to have people who aren't on the lease, like written, documented on the lease. Legally, they're not allowed to be there, I think over like a month period, or I forgot what it was, but the person who was staying with me was not signed on my lease. It was just me on my lease, so that person was not obligated to be there. If you want somebody and you know you're gonna need somebody to be obligated, make sure that person signs the lease with you, so if they do up and leave, you won't be stuck or in a shitty situation. Before I even got my apartment, I made sure that I was able to afford it by myself if anything were to ever like happen to where that person flaked on me, which actually I'm not gonna say was the case, but kind of was the case in a sense. Nothing really fell back on me, because at the end of the day, it was my name on the leasing term. Legally, it was me. I was obligated, not the other person. So, you know, just make sure whoever you're signing a lease with, put their name on it, because
oh no, I don't want to put my name on the lease. I'll just pay with.
No, you better get some written shit. Nobody's on that lease and not obligated, then they really don't have to do anything. You don't trust people, even your roommate. Oh, I want to be roommates with you, but I don't want to put my, no, you putting your name on that lease just like I am. Or vice versa. If you know you're not gonna want to be there, stay there a year with that person. Don't sign a lease with nobody you don't want to be with, and then you be fucked and you can't afford it by yourself. You know, that's another thing. If you are really like the main person looking into the apartment stuff, signing everything, you got to make sure, regardless of living with somebody or not, you got your shit together financially, because you can't depend on other people to pay your rent. That's your rent. As far as moving in, depending on how much stuff you have, if you have furniture or no furniture, you're gonna have to pay for movers. For me personally, to get my stuff, I was living downtown at the time, time, downtown Austin, I had to get a U-Haul, rent it. It was almost I think like $200 to rent that for a few hours to get like my bed, my dresser. I didn't have too much stuff, but like my big items, I had to pay for that to get them to my apartment up to North Austin, from downtown to North Austin. It was like a straight shot, but still, you know, it costs, unless you have like a truck yourself or you want to hire professional movers, the case may be. I don't really think professional movers are necessary. Like if you got like no help, then yeah, but if you have like siblings or cousins or family friends, like people who are strong and who can lift stuff, just get some help. Free, pay them like $29. You're gonna do me a solid. You don't need to pay money for stuff if you really don't need it. So if you don't need movers, don't get movers. This is another unnecessary expense. As far as moving in, once you move in, you go to the office. They can walk you to the apartment, give you your key, a mailbox key, and a clicker fob, depending on how fancy your apartment is. I had a regular schmegular key fob, so regular lock, old school OG lock. They give you paperwork to sign. Of course, the day you get approved, you gotta go in, do a lot of paperwork, sign a lease. It's not you pop up, boom, get the key, and you move in. No, you gotta go through, sign some extra stuff, make sure everything's good. Yeah, just be prepared to sign paperwork and do some extra stuff like the day you move in. Like it's not just like, oh, I'm moving in. No, you gotta go do shit. They'll give you a list basically proving that you signed a lease. They'll always ask for copies of every single document you ever signed, not just with leases but in general. Big agreement, make sure you get a copy of your leasing agreement. I got mine via email. You can get a paper copy if you want to be more careful like that, if you don't really like technology stuff. I got a paper copy and I got an email of my leasing agreement, and basically every other thing that I signed, signatured, and everything that I put my signature on. Yeah, you gotta also make sure you cut on your Wi-Fi and electricity before you move in. You don't want to move into an apartment with no electricity and you can't use the heat or any, you know, electricity. So yeah, so make sure you set up cable, Wi-Fi, whatever you choose to use. For me personally, I did not have cable. I don't watch cable. I watch Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, so I already have my subscription for that. So the only thing I needed in my apartment for like my business and YouTube and everything else that I'm doing is Wi-Fi internet. Depending on what area you're in, they service you with a specific cable or internet company. And yeah, I got that cut on. I paid that monthly, separate from rent and everything. As far as like electricity and internet and all that stuff goes, some apartments can provide that, but a lot of apartments don't. Sometimes that's a completely separate expense that you have to calculate and include into your rent, even though you're paying it separate. So it's not included in rent, but it all combines together because you're paying it monthly, if you know what I mean. And they're all going to be due. Okay, rent was due on the 1st. My electricity bill was due on, I think, like the 15th to the 16th of the month, along with cable. So rent was due on the 1st, electricity and cable were due around the middle of the month, you know. So and I had all of that, set it on auto pay. Also, after you're done signing everything, they give you a long list of stuff like stove, refrigerator, basically every single thing in that apartment to see if it works or not. Does wash and dry work? Does the garbage disposal work? Does the microwave work? Does the oven light work? Does the locks work? Like, just small stuff. Test every single thing up, everything up in that apartment. Test it out, because if you don't test it out or you don't say anything and you move out and it's still broken, they're gonna think it's you. So you make sure you want to be set that clear, like, hey, look, I wrote this down here, this was broken, this was broken. Like, I think my lock on my balcony didn't work, that didn't open, the oven light didn't work, and ice machine didn't work. So it's like, write that down, let them know. If you're gonna be living here, you better be comfortable and everything better work. And then once you get that back to them, usually they send maintenance over, on-site maintenance that you can contact whenever you need something. Doesn't cost. Maintenance comes with apartments. That's what they're there for, to maintain the apartment complex. So if something not working, your toilet clogged, your faucet clogged, they come and fix that. It should be free of charge. For me it was. And then I think there was something with like my washer, but I had a warranty. Oh, it was my oven. Since the oven light wasn't working, I was still under like warranty. So basically, like, if anything happened to it, it was paid for by them. I don't have to pay anything out of my pocket. Like, I just moved here, why would I have to pay for a new oven? You know what I mean? There's definitely more nitty-gritty stuff in between, like living. But honestly, once you get your apartment, you move your furniture in. I got my TVs mounted on the walls. I wouldn't recommend painting. Like, you have to look at the leasing agreement. If you're trying to paint your walls, you got to make sure that's okay with the apartment complex. You are renting from them. That is not, you don't own anything. You can decorate it, make it feel like your home, but at the end of the day, you gotta know, like, okay, this is really not my shit. Like, you gotta make sure you're allowed to do what you want to do to your apartment. If you want to cover your cabinets and walls wallpaper, you got to make sure you can do that first. You want to put TVs on the wall, you got to make sure you can do that. You want to paint the walls, you got to make sure before you just do them. As if you mess up something, you can't fix it, you're gonna have to pay for that when you move out. I didn't paint my walls, I didn't do no extra stuff. The only thing I did was mount my TVs, which required holes in the wall, but those were fixed up before I moved out. I made sure I got painted over so that I would be good. And once again, you are obligated to this lease for however long you signed it for. So it's not, oh, I can't afford it anymore, I gotta stop paying. You do that, you're gonna have an eviction, and you're basically breaking the lease. That is gonna stay on your credit for a long time, or whoever co-signed for you. That's gonna be really bad. So I don't recommend breaking the lease or getting evicted, doing any bullshit to get you kicked out of the apartment. I don't recommend any of that. There was a time where I almost got kicked out of my apartment due to other people. It wasn't even me, it was other people. So be careful who you have in your apartment, be careful who you let know where you stay. Don't be letting people know where you stay. Like, yeah, you got your apartment, cool, boom, you want to see it. I don't know, I personally never had a lot of people over my apartment. Only my close family, like my mom, my granny, the person I was at the time, some of his family, my brothers, yeah, immediate family, and then a few of my close friends. Like, I didn't have any and everybody over my apartment. Not everybody needs to know where you stay. You got your apartment, keep your shit to yourself. Not everybody gonna be happy you got your apartment. People might wanna, people are weird. As far as living there, yeah, just enjoy your time. Like, it's your apartment. Like I said, make sure you're able to financially afford living and moving out on your own. You don't want to be stuck in a leasing term for 12 months, paying rent back to back to back, not being able to have fun or do the things you normally do for a whole year. Like, when I moved into my apartment, like, I was still able to live comfortably. Like, I never just like struggled, because it's like I mentally knew that I was gonna be okay financially, so I didn't have to struggle. Like, I still took trips. I think the first month I was living there, the snowstorm happened back in 2021, and I wasn't working for like a week or two, but I was still able to pay my rent and do, like, that's what I'm saying. You never know what could happen. Electricity, I didn't have no power, I didn't have like none of that. Like, you just gotta make sure you're good. It's times where I caught up with work, I was sick, I was still able to like bounce back and pay my rent. I took trips, I did fun stuff. Like, I spent money on other stuff. I enjoyed myself. Make enough money so where you can be able to do that, take care of your business, but still live your life. Like, you're young, especially if you're young moving out. Like, you don't want to just get thrown into adulthood and bills. Like, that's why I'm saying there's no rush in moving out. Like, enjoy yourself, go do this, go travel, go do this, that, and the third, then focus on moving, then focus on settling down once you start getting more financially stable. It's not, I'm not gonna say realistic to be financially well off by 18, 19, 20, 21. Like, you're still figuring shit out. You're still figuring out what jobs you want. Like, you ain't supposed to have it all figured out. So you don't have to move out immediately just because you feel pressured, or because society makes it look like, oh, you have to move out by this age. I experienced it, I got a taste of it, and it's a lot. It's expensive. As far as moving out, before you move out, you have to give them a 30 to 60 days notice depending on where you live. Look at the leasing terms around the time you're about to have to move out, see what you need to do. Yeah, they usually require written down, documented that you're moving out. Don't be like,
hey, Susan, Mark, I'm moving out on this day. Like, I'm like,
no, make sure everything you do, you write down, have physical proof of that. So if something ever happened, God forbid, you gotta go to court or something, you got proof of everything. Once you do move out, don't leave your house dirty. Don't leave that apartment dirty. You gotta deep clean. I had to deep clean my whole apartment, everything. Like, I had a few scratches on the wall, I had to repaint. Like, I had to do a lot of stuff. You just really gotta make sure, like, you clean. Like, don't be irresponsible. Like, don't just leave that apartment like that. And then also, yeah, once you're done cleaning, make sure you're taking pictures of everything so they don't be trying to lie on you.
oh, she left a big socket hole in the wall.
Like, no, I didn't. You better take a video of the apartment, pictures of anything. If there are any damages, report them and let them know. But yeah, throughout my leasing term, I had management change around towards like the end of my lease, so it's like completely different management and all of that. A lot of stuff changed. Oh, as far as paying rent, a lot of places now, due to COVID, have online portals to where you pay your rent electronically. So before you move, if you're a cash person, you're not into cards, credit, and all of that. Not gonna lie, it's gonna be a little harder, but you know, credit, I used to be against credit. Like, why do you need credit? Society says you need credit. But like, nah, like, you don't have to have credit, but having credit is a very good aid to have when applying and doing a lot of stuff in adulthood. And it's best to start building as early as you can, whether you're on a secure card, your credit, your parents open you up something, you know, it's just to really help you out in the long run. Yeah, that's really it. If y'all have any questions, I can do like a part 2 going into more depth about all of the other stuff, but that's really what I experienced. I had a good first run with my apartment. It got a little bumpy towards the end, but we made it. And I learned a lot of stuff. And one big thing that I can say, do not let people live in your house who are not on your leasing term. Don't do it. Don't do that. Don't try to be nice, lend a hand, let somebody stay with you for like a few days to a week, 2 weeks max. Cool. But people will take advantage of you, like thinking like, oh, like, ooh, they still let me stay here, like, ooh, rent free. Like, nah, if you got somebody living in your apartment, make sure they pitching in somehow. Oh, am I taking you places? Are you giving me gas money? Are you pitching in for food? Are you cleaning up? Like, don't have nobody living off of you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like, you work too hard to get your apartment or y'all's apartment, whoever you're living with. Like, you work too hard to let it just go down the drain over people. Like, people would literally leech off of you. Don't let them do that. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope that explained enough. Like I said, I can do a part 2 if y'all have more questions or anything, but that's pretty much all. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. I really do hope y'all enjoy. Just be responsible. If you're not responsible, you're all over the place, don't get an apartment. Like, that's a whole legal obligation. That's way more to it than just moving in, taking a picture with the key, posting it on social media. Like, it takes a lot of responsibility, dedication, all of that. So if you're not ready to boss up and be on your adult stuff, don't force yourself into it. Having your own apartment is nice, but there's a lot that comes to it. I spent a lot of money this past year on my apartment. Oh, I didn't even include furniture. You still gotta buy furniture. You gotta furnish your apartment. You don't want to just be living in an empty apartment on an air mattress. I mean, that's how you're gonna start. I mean, I started like that. I started with not shit, and I slowly worked my way up to furnishing my whole apartment. There's pros and there's cons to moving, but to adulthood in general. You're gonna experience a lot. You're gonna learn a lot. Yeah, y'all, I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I hope that it was informative. It helped y'all in some type of way, kind of get some insight. But yeah, y'all, I love y'all. If you're new to my channel, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, like, comment, and all of that good stuff. And I'll see y'all